Neighbor Karen gets evicted. So I'd shared parts of this previously, but there were updates I never got to finish. It is not a short one, but it is very satisfying. TLDR, our duplex neighbor was a pain in the, so we tormented her for nearly a year. She eventually got herself evicted. I shared a duplex with my then GF and her son, 7. To fully understand all of this I have to lay out the geography. This is a single-house duplex with both doors in the middle with a shared small front porch. The house was built on the side of a hill. Our half was on the uphill side, so underneath the other unit are both garages, side by side. The sidewalk comes up from the garages in front of the other unit directly onto the shared front porch. There's also a back porch, but it has a divider, so we share a moderate amount of privacy. We got a new neighbor one day, but didn't meet her until a couple weeks after she moved in. We'll call her Karen. She's mid-late 50s, skinny, and has cats. Lots of cats. We can see them in the windows. Our meeting went as such. One day we're out washing our cars in the front yard, me, the GF, and her kid. The hose wouldn't reach the driveway. I also have a pair of motorcycles that I'm washing, too. They will be important later. We're having a fun afternoon in the sun, playing with the hose, you know the scene. All kinds of cute and happy. This is when our new neighbor comes home. Karen drives along the driveway, parks in the garage, and walks up the sidewalk where we are. We politely introduce ourselves, and even joke that if she pulls her car up here we'd wash it, too. She all but ignores us and walks straight to her door. We shrug it off, but then she returns and goes straight vapor lock, setting the mood for the rest of the year. She starts nagging in an angry, almost screaming tone that she doesn't want us on her half of the yard. We can't be on her half, which included the sidewalk, since it went through her half of the front yard. We needed to get off her side of the yard. Since the sidewalk was on her half, it was hers and we couldn't use it. We would have to go around the back to get to our door. That's not happening, and she also wants us to stop using the garage door opener because she doesn't like the noise it makes when we do. That's obviously not happening. She's off my GF and scaring her kid. I have to calm them both down and get them inside while Karen is still yelling with a jabbing finger. Now I'm an easygoing guy, I can let it roll off. But the GF and kid didn't deserve that. I got them both to calm down. He needed ice cream, she needed a beer and smoke. And Karen needed to be taught a lesson. I go to put the cars and bikes away. It's during this that I can hear Karen through the garage ceiling on the phone with what I can only assume is our landlord, bitching about how rude and insufferable we are. We scare her cats really and we keep running the garage door and it bothers her. She doesn't like it. We just have to go. The light bulb goes off. Both of my bikes are carbureted, and for the life of me, I can't remember the last time I had them adjusted. Since car washing was cut short, maybe I can do that instead. I pull mine and the GF's car out of the garage, I'm going to need the space. Then I park the bikes side by side, exhaust pipes facing into the garage. I break out the tools, and start with the little one. She's a 2001 V-Star 1100 Classic. I named her Molly. Vance and Hines pipes, but they're still pretty loud. I crank Molly up and wail on that throttle while I fine-tune the throttle body. Just ripping it, as loud as she can, filling that garage with all of the noise. Keep it up for a few minutes, then let her rest a minute. When I finally put Molly to bed, I can finally hear Karen stomping on the floor and yelling at me. I yell back, "Okay, Karen, just one more to go. Only be a few minutes." Then I turn my attention to Black Betty. She's the '08 Vulcan. Mean Streak Limited Edition. She's an 1800, she has pipes too, but the baffles may or may not have been drilled out. Before I can crank it up I hear her calling what I assume is the LL and yelling that she doesn't care about a lease, she wants us kicked out. She just won't stand for it. I didn't catch the rest of it as Betty was clearing her throat. I gave up the subterfuge of actually working on it and just held the throttle open for a moment, then rest, then throttle, then rest. Kept that up until my own ears started ringing. Then put the vehicles away. She was still stomping on the floor and talking on the phone. I assumed this was someone other than the LL because she's retelling the same story again. Also, did I mention that we're friends with the landlord? Yeah, so once I'm back inside, the GF is on the phone with him. We tell our side, he laughs at my prank with the bike, then asks me not to do that anymore. We finish off the evening with some TV while Karen is still screaming. Her voice is wavering as though she might be angry crying. In the coming months it only got worse. But in that moment, the most committed of meth heads could not match me for the endorphin rush I got from hearing her rant and squeal. A few days later, I'm out on my way to work. I leave at about 6 to make it in time to have breakfast at the desk before I log on at 7. I go around to the garage, and Karen has left her car outside her garage and positioned it so I can't get my car out. I knock on her door, and of course she doesn't answer. Bang on it a few more times. Nothing. I even yell at the door, "Hey, Karen, you're blocking my car. I need to get to work." This is clearly her petty revenge for the bikes, I'm sure. Good shot, Karen. Good one. Fortunately, it's a nice day so I can just take one of them to work. The bike can fit around her car. But thanks to her, I wasn't going to have time to enjoy my breakfast once I got there. That evening, I came home and her car was still there. So instead of putting it back in the garage, I leave the bike parked behind her car, just at the edge of the street. Now I know what you're thinking, but what if she backs into it? And I was kinda hoping that was where it would go. See, I've got great insurance and an even better lawyer. But no, this is how petty she is. She calls the cops. Come knock on our door? Push the bike over? Go through the front yard? No, calls the cops. The nice policeman informs me that I'm blocking her car from exiting. Yeah, that was kinda the point. I inform him that she started it. I felt like a kid saying that. And honestly, we would have called the police on her for this morning, but it seemed juvenile, and a waste of their time. Also, I had to get to work. Cops' response: "Yes, but that's why we're here. That's just sad. Lets me know our species is doomed." Anyway, once I explained the whole thing, Mr. Policeman knocks on her door, addresses himself and gets her to come outside. We explain the whole mess. Cop asks, "Is this true?" She admits it, but can't produce a reason for it. Cop scolds us both for being childish and to stop blocking the driveway. Says he doesn't want to have to come back out to our residence again. Yeah, okay. That weekend, we go over to the neighbors for a few drinks. No, not that one. She doesn't like us. The next duplex over. Their porch is about 30 feet or so from the original scene of the crime. We're not being loud, no music. Just a handful of us grilling out and drinking beers. Oh, and among the guests this evening is our LL himself. Did I mention we were in good with him? So anyway, sure enough the nice policeman comes by. It's not the same officer as time, but the po nonetheless. He comes to the deck, flashlight in hand. Says he got a noise complaint call. Clearly it was her, but what is rib-bustingly hilarious, is that the officer said the noise complaint was placed by, wait for it, the landlord of the house. Yeah, no, anyways, LL steps forward and says, "Funny, I don't remember calling to complain about myself." Once again we explain everything to the officer. He chuckles, asks us to keep it down, and leaves. After that, Mr. LL goes over to her unit. Of course she doesn't answer the door, but he speak loud enough for her to hear, letting her know what she did wasn't cool. After that we tried to avoid one another. There would be minor, like, UPS packages dropped for her, we find it on our side and move it over. Later on we'll hear through the door, "Keep your hands off my stuff." Or other headaches that make us wish her cats would turn on her. Few weeks later I'd gotten a promotion at work, so we threw a party. Sure enough the cops were called again. This one was not placed by the LL. But he was still there. He yells over at her door, "Hey, Karen, this is getting old." This next instance I can't quite take credit for. But Karen had built this obnoxious awning to cover her side of the porch out back. She never uses the porch, so why bother? However, I clearly remember a stipulation in our lease that says we are not allowed to modify the exterior of the units at all. Maybe hers is different. Maybe I should call LL and find out. What's that? No, she doesn't get to make modifications either? Oh well, she did, so he makes her remove it. Again, because we're in good with him, he shares the tale with us, how she bitched, then begged, then relented. It was ear candy. Speaking of candy, come Halloween, I decorated the yard. I had heard from multiple neighbors of ours that their children were frightened of my front yard come Halloween. By this point, I should have guessed, though, that the lines were being drawn with Karen, figuratively and literally. I had to move some of my decorations, and that included the 15-foot ghost on the roof of the unit. I had to move it all the way over onto my side. So come Halloween night, we took her son out trick-or-treating. And literally every kid we saw, we told them to go by her place. She had the good candy. And lots of it, but she's old and hard of hearing, so you'll have to bang the door pretty hard. No, she won't mind. She's a sweet lady. Now, I realize this was also mean to the kids who went to her door. But they were each a worthy sacrifice on the altar of petty revenge. Finale season. It's been about 10 plus months now. The cops hadn't had to come back out and no one had been cussed out in a while. One evening, we hear a splatter coming from the kitchen. Go in and find the pipe has busted under the sink and spraying. I quickly go out to the main and close it, but because this is a duplex, I've cut off water to her side as well. She's not home yet, so we call our buddy the LL. He comes and addresses the issue, small part to fix it. Needs to run to Home Depot. Be right back. Meanwhile I type up a note for Karen's door. I let her know we had a leak, had to shut off the water, but it should be fixed within an hour or two. Even thanked her for her understanding. While he's gone we clean up the water. It was a lot. Then, before he returns we hear the splatter again. At first, I'm a little confused. I know I'd turned it off. But then it clicks. I go outside, and there's Karen, holding a pipe wrench. Hey, didn't you see my note? Yes, but my cats need water. Yes, but now you're flooding our unit. I need water. My GF comes out and goes off shouting, calling her a next door neighbors hear and come out. It's a show, now. I go get my wrench to close the main valve again, but she won't move out of the way. She's literally blocking me. I half expect her to take her wrench to my head, so I back off. Sure enough, LL arrives at the shit show. Hey, we left her a note. She ignored it and started the water again. Wait, she what? Then he turns to light into her, cussing her out. I take advantage of her distraction to go, the water again. But at this point the damage is done. It's been running long enough that the carpets are soaked, and the water is pouring out the front door. Meanwhile LL is still yelling at her. Alright, Karen, that's it. You're out of here. This is your 30 days. Quote. I've already signed next year's lease. But I haven't yet. It's worthless. Tear it up. And I'm taking your deposit to pay for their damages. She melts. But I don't have anywhere else to go. She continues to argue and cry about her deposit. She'll need that for her next apartment. She can't afford to move. She threatens small claims court to get it back. The argument rages on while I take GF and son to go get packed. We can't stay here tonight. We spent the next couple of nights at a hotel while the carpets were redone. He bought the beer and ribs for the next barbecue. Few more weeks go by without so much as a peep from her. One day we come home and she's just gone. Porch, garage, and apartment all cleaned out. I'm almost disappointed she didn't say goodbye.